Hey guys, welcome back to Tipharot. It's me, Matt here, and today I'm doing another Lucid Dreaming Q&A. If you're unfamiliar, basically, I take 10 of your questions that you've left in the comments, either on my Q&A videos or on other videos, and I try to answer them as best as I can. So let's get on to the questions. Question 1. When I try sleep paralysis, my body gets really tense and I want to move really badly, and it makes it hard to enter a dream. How did you fix this? Don't try to enter sleep paralysis. You do not need to enter sleep paralysis to lucid dream. It is one way of doing it, but if you're struggling to enter sleep paralysis, then I suggest simply avoiding that. I have a lot of trouble entering sleep paralysis, and so when I do methods like Wild, I ignore that step and I simply focus on, watching behind my eyelids until images start to form and just continue from there until I'm able to enter a dream. I do not wait for sleep paralysis because I know that for me, I could be laying there for an hour and not get sleep paralysis. The other thing is your body getting really tense. If you are actually trying for sleep paralysis, your body is getting really tense because you're trying not to move. If you want to not move, you shouldn't be trying not to move, because the minute you try not to move, you tense your muscles and stuff, and that prevents you from actually staying really still because your muscles are tensed in that. You want to be relaxed. That is the key. You want to relax your body. Just do what you would do if you were going to sleep normally, but don't move about. That's how you do it if you want to get into sleep paralysis. Now, if you're like me, it's going to be very, very difficult anyway. So if you do have trouble with it, then just skip that step. It is not a necessary step. And for some people, it's going to be easier going through sleep paralysis. But for a lot of people, it's not. In fact, I'd say for most people, it's not. And so for most people, I actually advise not doing that. Question number 2. I've tried various waking up methods for a long time, being consistent with them. I've only had lucid dreams through reality checks. Any tips? Well, I think the fact that you've had success with reality checks but not had success with any of the other methods that you've tried and allegedly consistently for a long time makes me think that the problem may be with your alarms with the waking up methods. You may be waking up in a period of sleep that is not an REM period, because if you do that, then those methods simply won't work. You need to be in REM. So it's possible that the alarm that you're setting is just not the right time. It may be that, say, you're setting an alarm for 6 hours and it's taking you longer to fall asleep, so it's not actually, 6 hours of sleep. Or it may be that 6 hours is just not the right amount for you because your REM periods happen at different times. So what I suggest you do is try a different hour and try that for a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks even, and see how that works. Try Mild again, or you can play around with Wild and other methods as well. But basically, try a different hour. If 6 hours didn't work for you before, then try 6.5 or 7 hours on the alarm and see how that works. And then after a couple of weeks, if that doesn't work, try something like 5 hours. See how that works for you, and hopefully that'll give you some better results. Question number 3. Is pinching the skin between my thumb and pointer finger a good reality check? I honestly don't know because I've never tried that in a lucid dream, or in a dream even, but I get the idea that this is meant to be a reality check because of the idea of feeling pain. You can feel pain in a lucid dream, and it's not going to feel like unnatural really if you do that. You're not typically going to feel like excessive, crazy amounts of pain in a lucid dream, but something like pinching yourself, you will feel pretty normally. In fact, it's kind of funny to me, the whole pinch yourself to see if you're dreaming thing that you see in movies and all of that, because if I pinch myself in a dream, it's exactly the same as if I pinch myself when I'm awake. Like, there is no difference whatsoever, so it is not a good reality check in my opinion. Of course, you can try it out, maybe you'll be different, maybe it will work for you, but I don't think it sounds like a particularly good reality check. Question number 4. Is it worth it to start doing reality checks? What's the best variety of them? 1 reality check per hour, would that be good? Basically, you should pick several reality checks ideally and do multiple ones. I like doing the one where I poke my finger through the palm of my hand, or I attempt to. I also like doing the one where I close my nose, I hold my nose closed and I try to breathe through it. I sometimes like counting the fingers on my hands. That's another one. I will count the fingers on both hands. Then I will, put my hands away where I can't see them, bring them back up to my face again and count them again. If the number of fingers changes, that is a clue that something's off. If the number of fingers isn't right, that's also a clue that something is off. And ideally you want to do several of them, and you also want to do them very slowly and deliberately, because basically the way that reality checks work is that when you're in a dream, you think you're awake, and it will seem like you are perfectly awake and everything is normal, even when it's not. So like right now, you are certain that you're awake, right? But the thing is, you could actually be dreaming right now, because it will seem exactly the same as it does now to you when you're in a dream. So even if you are awake, it seems exactly the same way when you're not awake, when you're dreaming. So reality checks are there to keep constantly testing to find out, because you might be so completely convinced that you're awake, it's normal day-to-day life, you're not in a dream, and then you do a reality check and you find out you were completely wrong and it actually was a dream. So take them very, very seriously. Never do them like just to practice. Always do them in the manner that, hey, this could be a dream right now and I need to find out and I need to test, several methods, because sometimes one method will just work normally. You'll try to poke your finger through your hand and it won't go through, so you'll think, oh, I must be awake. When in actual fact, if you actually tried it a second time, it would have worked, or if you tried something else, it would have worked and you'd have found out you were dreaming. As for how often you should do them, I just like to do them whenever I remember to do them, but for some people that's going to result in them not doing them very often, so you might want to set an alarm to remind you every couple of hours or something like that, or even every hour if you like to do it that much. I don't find that you actually need to do it that much. You just need to actually do them properly each time and do a few each day, and that is usually enough. The key is doing them properly, because you could be doing 50 or 100 reality checks a day, but if you're just doing them really, really half-assed and not really focusing on them, then that is going to result in them not working and not giving you any lucid dreams. Question number 5. Do things look super realistic in lucid dreams? They can do. It really depends on your level of lucidity. I've had dreams that are very, very, very blurry and it just looks like I have poor vision. Kind of like how I do in the real world, so maybe you could argue that those are actually more realistic to me. But I've had other dreams where everything is super, super crystal clear, and it's kind of funny because, like I just said, I'm short-sighted, I have poor vision, and sometimes in lucid dreams I can actually see better than I can while awake wearing my glasses. Like, my best vision is in some of my lucid dreams, it just looks clearer and so on. So things can look super realistic in lucid dreams, yes, but they don't always. Question number 6. When I do wild, I focus and keep my mind awake and I can't seem to see any images. Then I give up and I let go and sleep normally, and when I let go it seems to work because I just start to see images. And the comment then goes on to talk about how they end up in a dream and so on, and they were wondering if this could be a lucid dreaming method of actually letting go. And basically I think this comes down to a misunderstanding of how wild works, and this is not your fault necessarily, because I have said this a few times now actually, that with wild it is very, very hard to actually explain the method in such a way that people will understand it, because everyone will listen to this guide and they will take their own interpretation of what you're supposed to do, and a lot of times that interpretation isn't correct. So when you're actually meant to kind of let the images appear, you do not really need to be focusing on keeping your mind awake. That kind of happens as a result of the fact that you're just paying attention to what's going on behind your eyes. You want to be really relaxed as if you're going to sleep. You're not actually going to sleep, but you need to be relaxed enough as if you were. You need to treat it like you're going to sleep. You need to lay the same way as if you were going to sleep. You need to relax the same way. And that is when those images will start to appear. If you actually focus on trying to make these images appear, that's not going to happen. It's when you let go as if you're going to sleep that they do appear. So what you're talking about with this letting go method, that is actually wild. That is what you're supposed to do. Now, you don't need to let go all the way. The idea is you let go enough that the images start to appear, and when they start to appear, that's when you start to watch them, and you no longer need to let go fully and let yourself fall asleep. So yes, next time that you try wild, do that whole process of letting go, and then when the images appear, that's when you continue with the wild method rather than letting go fully and going to sleep. Question number 7. What should I do about swallowing my saliva? This is again something that is related to using sleep paralysis to get into wild. If you are actually trying to enter sleep paralysis for wild, then you will probably run into this problem where you're laying there on your back, because a lot of guides suggest doing it on your back because it is easier to get into sleep paralysis on your back. So you're laying there on your back, you've been there for 10 minutes trying to be as still as possible, and then you start to notice saliva building up, and you get this really, really strong urge to swallow, and you don't know whether you can swallow or not, because you don't know if you swallow, is that going to stop you from entering sleep paralysis? Is that going to interrupt the process and make you start over again? If you don't swallow, are you going to have to deal with all that in your mouth, all that saliva? Well, basically, once again, I say that you do not need to go through sleep paralysis to perform wild. That is kind of the way that was accepted that it had to be done, but that is not absolutely necessary. I never use sleep paralysis to go through wild anymore. It was something that I tried originally, but I found that the success rate that I had with it was so low compared to when I actually learned to do it without sleep paralysis that it just doesn't seem worth it to me. However, if you must go through sleep paralysis, you just feel like doing it that way, or you want to go into sleep paralysis for some other reason, then what I suggest is just trying to lay on your side. You get much less saliva build up there when you're laying on your side. And the other thing is, try not to tense too much. Try not to actually focus on being still, because people make this mistake. And this is actually why you're probably not entering sleep paralysis if you're trying this. I had this exact same issue. I was doing the wild methods and I would never enter sleep paralysis. And I was just wondering, why can't I enter it? You know, I'm waiting there for half an hour and being super still. But what I was actually doing, I wasn't being still, I was trying to be still. And if I tell you right now, try to be super still, what happens? You like tense up all your muscles to try and, you know, stay in one place. That is not what is meant by remaining still to enter sleep paralysis. When we say to remain still to enter sleep paralysis, we basically just mean relax. Just relax like you're going to sleep. And, you know, don't suddenly wave your arms about or anything, but you don't have to be like rigid like a log, because when you're rigid like a log, your muscles are tense, so you can't enter sleep paralysis anyway. So don't tense up, just relax. And you'll find that when you do that, you actually have less of the issue with saliva. I find that it's more common when you are tensed up and you're not going to enter sleep paralysis anyway. So actually the sign that you're getting all that saliva probably means you're not going to have any success, and you should just skip that step and just do it normally. Another option that you can use is propping your head up with a pillow. I personally find that a little bit uncomfortable, so I prefer the, you know, laying on my side thing. That is when I actually do intend to go for sleep paralysis, which is something that I only do when I'm attempting to do something like astral projection and not lucid dreaming. Anyway, question number 8. Will listening to rain sounds while falling asleep affect the process when performing a method like mild? The actual original comment didn't specify a method, but I believe it was on a video where I was teaching mild, I think. So will listening to rain sounds be a problem, or, you know, help anyway? I don't think it'll affect it really. I listen to stuff while falling asleep sometimes when I'm doing lucid dreaming methods. I listen to ASMR quite commonly because it helps with anxiety that I experience sometimes, and it helps me with insomnia as well, and it just gets me relaxed, so I like to do that. I also sometimes listen to hypnosis tracks and just, you know, general like relaxing music and stuff like that. Not so much the music part that often, because it doesn't help me as much as say ASMR or hypnosis tracks do. But yeah, I have listened to all sorts of things and I've never had them affect my lucid dreaming you know, techniques in any way. Now, if you're doing something like wild, I probably wouldn't suggest that, because it might kind of distract you and it might actually prevent you from succeeding. But if you're doing something like mild and you're just getting back to sleep, then as long as the thing doesn't actually prevent you from falling asleep, as long as you can fall asleep listening to rain sounds normally, then go at it. It's not going to be a problem. And on to question 9. I still don't understand the difference between a false awakening and sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is supposed to be your actual room and no transition from waking, but in other comments you said it isn't your real room. Care to explain? Okay, so what I was getting at there, I've said a few times in comments that when you see your room in sleep paralysis, it kind of isn't your real room. And the reason that I say this is because I've now encountered several stories of people who suffer from sleep paralysis saying that, for example, their partners who were laying in bed with them attempted to wake them up during sleep paralysis, and during their actual sleep paralysis episode, they did not see their partner attempting to wake them, which to me confirms something that I had already believed before, that the entire thing is a hallucination. It's not just that you're seeing your actual room and then hallucinating things in it, you are actually hallucinating the whole room. And this also ties in with some experiences I've had, because I've had the occasional sleep paralysis experience where the lighting in the room was a bit off. Like, it was pitch black in the room and the lights were on in my sleep paralysis occurrence. Or conversely, it was light outside already, but in my sleep paralysis, it was actually really, really dark. So when you encounter sleep paralysis, you will see your room, you'll see yourself in bed, but I think that a lot of the time, at least, if not all of the time, the entire actual room is hallucinated, just like a false awakening. You're just stuck in bed still and can't move. It's possible that isn't always the case, but basically I wouldn't try to do things like, you know, turning off the lights so that you can't see any monsters when you get sleep paralysis or whatever. You know, obviously sleep with the lights off anyway, because that's probably best for your sleep. But, you know, doing things like that to block out your physical vision, to make it harder to see bad things with sleep paralysis, might not work, because you are in fact hallucinating, at least to some degree, so it's likely that you'll be able to see some of these things anyway. Now, I have heard other stories that have said the opposite. I've heard people who have actually seen, you know, someone getting into their room and leaving and stuff like that, like an actual person who actually entered their room, you know, someone from their family or whatever, and they've seen that during sleep paralysis, suggesting that sometimes you actually are seeing your room. So I'm a little bit confused about, you know, whether you're seeing your real room most of the time or not. But it seems like you aren't all of the time, and so yeah, that's what I meant when I said that it isn't necessarily your real room. And the difference between that and a false awakening is, in a false awakening, you are actually dreaming, but you're dreaming of waking up. So you get up out of bed and stuff, and you know, go to the bathroom, you start brushing your teeth or whatever, and then it just hits you, you look in the mirror and it's not you there in the mirror or something, or you don't notice even, sometimes you don't notice and you just start going about your day, but you actually just woke up in a dream, you didn't actually really wake up. That's what a false awakening is. Whereas sleep paralysis, you're paralysed in bed, so there's a very big difference because you can't actually move. Okay, last question for today. Question number 10, how long do I have to lay still till sleep paralysis occurs? Well, that depends if you're actually properly laying still. If you're doing the whole tensing up thing that I mentioned earlier, where you're trying to be still really, really hard, then you could lay there for 5 or 6 hours and you're not going to get sleep paralysis because you're tensing your muscles. It's just not going to work. On the other hand, if you're just relaxed and you're completely relaxed and you don't tense or anything like that, then you can sometimes enter sleep paralysis so quickly that it happens in a matter of seconds. I've had this happen to me before, where I literally just relaxed and I was just really, really comfortable, and I kind of knew that it was going to happen. I was just really, really comfortable. I didn't really struggle or tense or anything like that, and it just came over me. It just washed over me very, very quickly. So it's going to vary depending on how relaxed you are and, you know, how comfortable you are with that, and also how much experience you have with entering sleep paralysis before. You know, if sleep paralysis is a struggle for you to enter, then it could take you a very long time because you're going to spend a lot of time tensing up and stuff, and it might take you a while to get to the point where you're actually in a comfortable position to enter it. Whereas on the other hand, if you're familiar with the process and you know exactly how to lay to enter it and you're not tensing or anything like that, then it's going to happen fairly quickly most of the time. It still might take some time, it still might take 5 or 10 minutes, but it's not going to leave you laying there for hours and hours if you're doing it properly. Anyway, that's been all for my questions for today. I hope you guys have found the questions and answers in this video helpful, and if you have some more questions for the next Q&A video, because I want to start putting these out regularly, then leave them down in the comments below and I'll be sure to get to some of them in the next Q&A video. And, you know, even if I don't get to them in that video, I might come back to them in a future video or whatever. So ask your questions, and thank you guys for actually leaving questions on the previous video and so on. It actually helps because it gives me something to talk about in these videos. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, then remember to subscribe. And if you want to support the channel, then remember to check out my Patreon page where you can find out more about that and all the different awards you get. Thanks once again for watching. Take care.